One evening, Leonardo DiCaprio was dining in an upscale restaurant in New York after a major environmental event organized in his name. Many celebrities, activists, and businessmen were gathered around him, sipping wine in an atmosphere of happiness and success. However, Leonardo felt lonely that evening. In the midst of all this crowd, even though he had a smile on his face, there was a deep emptiness inside him. His struggle to protect the environment made him constantly ask new questions. Am I really making a difference? How meaningful are these donations, speeches, actions? She was tired of carrying the responsibilities of being a celebrity for years. Every night she spent long hours in front of the cameras, smiling but restless in the deepest part of her heart. He thought about what he had lost, the mistakes he had made in the past, his past relationships. Her wealth and fame had not brought her happiness. Peace was the only thing missing in his life. That night, as he walked towards the back room of the restaurant, one of the waitresses caught his attention. She was young, and there was something in her eyes, a sadness, a tiredness. There was a pain in her eyes that Leonardo had hidden in his for years. She noticed him and said simply, "Good evening." But Leonardo immediately recognized the melancholy in her eyes. "Has something happened, sir?" she asked, looking deeply into his eyes. Leonardo was startled by her voice. He felt as if he had met a real person who was trying to understand the emptiness behind everything for him. In her eyes, he saw a reflection of the loneliness he had experienced for years. At that moment, he learnt her name, Maya. Maya carried the difficulties, pain, and losses she had experienced so deeply that he could feel them. Leonardo saw in Maya's simple but deep gaze the lostness that had been silently growing inside him for years. Maya had met the cruel face of life despite her young age. She lost her family at an early age, was cheated by the man she loved, and finally moved to New York to cope with the tragedies she had experienced. Here she worked as a waitress, facing a new destruction every day, but somehow she continued to survive. She was not just a waitress, she was a woman who carried the pain and fatigue inside her. For the first time in his life, Leonardo felt truly rested. With a glance, Maya understood an emptiness that could be described in words. For the first time in his life, Leonardo spoke to Maya with all sincerity, as he felt in his heart. "Sometimes the brightest lights come out of the deepest darkness," Leonardo said, his eyes slightly distant. "My career, everything I have achieved in my life, is in a way empty. They only show how much I shine. But there is something lost inside me. I can't find peace in the real sense. Among so many people, I am still alone." Maya took a deep breath and answered without waiting. "Peace is not something you seek, sir. Peace is making peace with yourself. No matter how famous you are, no matter how rich you are, you cannot fill the inner voids, because peace is not outside, it is somewhere inside. That's what I've learnt. And sometimes, loss can be a lesson." Maya's words awakened in Leonardo the pain he had suppressed for years. That night, a simple answer from a waitress offered him something more precious than the world: true humanity. Maya was someone who had lost her life, who had suffered and questioned the inner meaning of everything, but by looking beyond the surface of what Leonardo showed her, she truly saw it. After that night, Leonardo DiCaprio reconsidered his life. Not only did he continue to fight for the environment, but he also strengthened his empathy for the suffering of others. Maya's words became a key to the peace that had been lost in him. A week later, he invited Maya for a coffee. The coffee conversation was the beginning of a new era in both their lives. Leonardo embraced the idea that everything is inside, not outside. Maya taught him the most valuable lesson of his life. From that day on, Leonardo DiCaprio's environmental campaigns aimed to touch not only nature, but also the darkness of the human soul. And Maya? She was still on the streets of New York, still fighting for her life, but this time she was stronger. Because Leonardo DiCaprio's touch on her life gave her the courage to find her own lost light again.